I'm a medium, ask me how is not filmed in front of a living studio audience.
We best friends, but we love talking about dead people. We're going to laugh and we'll cry. Well, Dana's going to cry a little bit.
We got love bombs all over the place. And let's not act like Matt isn't going to cry a little bit. But we're also going to cuss. So if that doesn't resonate, turn the fuck around.
Yeah, we're going to drop some fuck bombs.
But we also want to share our experiences and knowledge about mediumship.
So sit down, get comfortable, and remember,
you are the light of 100,000 suns. You are the light.
And enjoy.
I'm a medium.
Ask me how.
Boop. I'm sorry, I love Logan's new theme song, but I missed that part.
Yeah, him singing is the best part. But it'll come back. You know, we're just doing October theme right now.
Yes. Mwahaha. October. Yeah.
I tried to do the mwahaha, but I'm not scary enough.
It was like that, like what the Secret Life of Pets, like you're that furry angry little kitty. It's like, oh, he's so cute.
Yeah.
Dana.
Matthew.
We need to talk about a lot in this episode today. We need to talk about the cleanup on aisle 4.
Yeah. You know, I'm a Virgo and I love to clean, but I'm sick of cleaning.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Yeah. I'm a store manager at a restaurant and that's all I do is clean. So to go to your actual love and passion job, it's tough to do that. Is to constantly clean up after others. Like, and what we call psychic cleanup happens constantly.
It's a full-time job. It quite literally is a full-time job. And I think it affects us in such a deep way because we care about this work in such a deep way.
Well, I think the hard part too is there's no accountability. There's no way to hold us accountable to what we're saying to people. Mm-hmm. And that's what I always find the hardest. I know that the UK right now, you know, they have a thing called I think it's a psychic endangerment law or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I know it began way back when Fraudulent Mediumship Act. Thank you. It just crept in, like, I swear. Just a boop. But it's called the Fraudulent Medium Act. But it ended up starting with the witch trials. And in the UK, that was how it practiced. And it eventually turned, I believe, in the early 1900s to the Fraudulent Mediumship Act to protect the general public from fraudulent mediumship, which, hey, I mean, it's something. And I know in the UK, I think you have to either register that you're a psychic and a medium, or there's some sort of accountability where you can be held accountable in the court of law on hurting others. But here in the United States, we don't got that. Like,
no, and there's zero regulation. And in the wild, wild west of TikTok, which we've talked about before, there is zero regulation. People are really vulnerable, like in their grief state. They're so desperate to hear from their loved ones. And they are so easily taken advantage of. And it breaks my heart. And the damage that continues to be done is devastating. Because what happens to these people, you know, these people that, I always want to go in with like, do these people have the worst intention?
Probably not.
You know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I always want to go in like glass half full, maybe they don't, you know? But they don't understand that, like, when they leave these people, when these people walk away from this reading, how are they leaving these people? And what ends up happening over and over and over again, Matt, is they land in our lives. They land in our one-on-one readings. And how often are you told? I was told by another psychic, by another medium, this or that. My loved one was stuck, that I'm holding them back by my grief, that they're angry at me, that they're not, they're unable to cross over. I mean, every single time I go live, there's something. There's something.
Mm-hmm. It's a never-ending shit pile that we've got to sift through. And you were saying something, and it just reminded me of something where it's like, with spirituality and mediumship and psychic work, it's literally like a bowl full of mud and water, right? Because everything in what we do is all thrown together, right? And so it's not easy for the general public to go, okay, well, I'm going to go in and this is what I'm looking for. This exact, like, our type of mediumship is exactly what I'm looking for. And I think sometimes the general public goes in looking for our type of mediumship, not to say it's the best, right? But I'm saying our type, and they end up getting something else.
Well, let's talk about what our type is. So you and I are what we consider evidential mediums. So, you know, there are a lot of different kinds of people that call themselves mediums out there. But for Matt and I, we are the type of mediums that are going to come forward, and we're going to give you lots of facts and figures and what we love to call the ungoogleable evidence that we have your loved ones with you. So we're
Can you spell that?
That's UNGOOGALABLE. Ungoogleable.
Ungoogleable. Okay, I'm sorry. I just needed a moment for ungoogleable because every good time I go to type it, it's awful. Siri's like, shut the fuck up.
But it's those weird, and that's what makes, I think, our work so beautiful. It's those random weird memories that, you know, you can't look up on somebody's obituary. That
exactly.
Those inside jokes that only two people know about that come through in a reading that validate without a shadow of a doubt that we have your loved one with us. And so that's really the first and foremost. That's I think what's beautiful about what we do is the undeniability of who we are bringing forward when we're talking about that. We also really focus on development and have worked on personally developing this before we worked with the general public, because very often, it's not to say that people aren't connecting with loved ones, but they're misperceiving a lot of what spirit is putting forward. They might feel like a choking sensation in the throat and be like, oh, this spirit is choking me. No, they're just giving you evidence that the way that they passed was choking. So there's a lot of misperception of what things are happening. Or if somebody suffered with depression in their life, they're going to be like, this spirit has really carried this over and they're really depressed here in the afterlife. No, they're just simply giving evidence to who they were in their life here on earth, not to where they are currently. So that development piece is really, really huge. So Matt and I are evidential mediums who are develop. I always say that I'm developing, but we have gone through a lot of development to get to where we are as professional mediums, so that we can interpret what spirit is saying to what was in their life and who they are now in the spirit world.
Yeah. I always now like to refer to evidential mediumship as the step out of the way mediums, right? Because we work really hard to step out of the way, not include our personal bias into our readings, not to overinterpret and overrelate it to our lives, but to deliver it as it's coming through in the way it's supposed to come through, and just handing you the pieces. So evidential mediumship is like building a puzzle, and it's a really good analogy, so bear with me here. I love a good puzzle. Oh my God, I love a good puzzle. All right, but it's essentially, as we're establishing a connection, we're building the parameter and the outline of the puzzle, right? Like you should. If you're a puzzle person, you always start with the border, right? So establishing the connection is like putting the pieces together. And then when we're giving evidence to deeper into the reading, we're just handing the pieces over to the person that's receiving the reading for them to put together the middle, right? Because I think that like when we establish a person, it's essentially us being like, I feel this person would be X, Y, and Z. Would be their personality. And when you lock down the person, it's then in turn, it's up to the spirit. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Do you understand this? I'm seeing this. Do you understand this? And it lets that person know with a shadow of a doubt that we are literally just transcribing and giving the mail to the person that it's for and not reading into it. And I think that I'm very proud of, because it lets the person know, regardless of religion, gender, sexual orientation, anything like that is not myself, that I have your loved one. I can read for almost anybody. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that as if you step out of the way, what is possible? What is possible?
It's removing that bias. And you've brought in a good point, because if a reader has extreme bias, and again, this is not judging anybody's religious choices or anything like that, but if you come in to a reading as the reader with a heavy religious bias, and you have been taught that there are demons and that there's hell and that there's this and that there is that, and you are bringing that into the reading, you're bringing in your own layer of bias to what is coming through evidentially. And you're not just letting spirit communicate what they want to communicate.
So essentially, you're limiting yourself to a limitless potential, right? It's because you're kind of saying, well, the buck stops here with my beliefs, and you're not kind of being open-minded. And just take that into consideration. You're not being open-minded to the evidence. And so therefore, is your reading 100% accurate? It's literally like a lot of the mediums that are not doing things the way that they should, is kind of like stepping out of the way. We'll say they're 100% accurate all the time. And not to say that the religious mediums, I want to be very clear, but you can clearly tell the ego is stepping in and being like, I'm right. I'm 100% right. You have to take this. This is a trap spirit. This is, whoa, hold up. Is that your evidence that you're perceiving, or is that the actual fact? Because if the sitter or the person that's receiving the reading is not resonating with what you're saying, is it 100% accurate?
Yeah. Well,
Right?
absolutely. And that's, again, why you can say, Matt, that you have the ability to read for so many different people or spirits, because you don't bring in your background or bias. I know a lot of very religious mediums that you would never guess that they are when they do their mediumship, because they don't bring that bias into the space of being a medium. So you can be both. You can go to church, you can have whatever cultural, religious practice in your own space. But when we sit with spirit, when we sit as mediums, we cannot bring that into the space. We just can't. No. It doesn't.
Because me and you might not have the same opinion. Right. And then that's almost disempowering, especially like going back to my analogy about the muddy waters in a bowl. Right. It's they don't know what is correct and what's not correct. So you can literally say anything and then it's concrete fact, because there becomes a power dynamic that is not talked about in the mediumship community enough, of being like, you're going to be the person I'm reading for. Okay. I can say anything to you and you would think that I was accurate because I'm talking to something that is not there. Right? And so who is empowered and who's disempowered?
Right.
You are, right? Because I can be like, yeah, your loved one's stuck. And then you're like, oh my God, this majestic person that's sitting in front of me that's all knowing is saying this. It must be true.
Anybody, just because somebody says that they're a psychic or a medium doesn't make it so. And guess what? I'm a psychic medium. And I am not 100%. Everything that I say is not so.
You shoot for a cool 80. 80%, baby.
Honestly, though, like I think that we need to humanize that, if something doesn't hit, if the medium, if the person who says that they're a psychic medium isn't connecting, isn't bringing forward things that are resonating, isn't bringing forward evidence that makes sense, throw it out. Just because somebody says that they're a psychic medium doesn't mean that.
But that's the hard part, Dana. That's the hard part because they don't know what to throw out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, me and you would know how to throw out because this is our livelihood and this is our career. But that's the part where it's like they don't know. So is there anything that you would know for signs to throw something out?
Well, first off, you know, I mean, if it's just not resonating, if I trust my body. So I'm a little spoiled because I've done a lot of work on myself to make sure that I listen to my intuition, but everybody has intuition. Everybody does. Everybody has that little gut feeling wherever they feel it in their body. Sometimes people feel it in their heart space. Sometimes people feel it in their stomach. Wherever you feel it in your body, you kind of have, everybody has a bullshit detector on some level. So if something's not ringing true to you, if you don't get like the chills or there's not evidence being brought forward, you can throw that out. You can write it down, and if it makes sense later. I mean, there's certainly things that, you know, in a mediumship reading that, I mean, how many times has this happened? I mean, it happens to us all the time where like we will be delivering a fire reading for part of the reading, and then all of a sudden, like it seems like the wheels come off, and we're like, just record, you know, we'll give you the recording of the reading, write it down, bring this to your mom, show it to them. And then it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense for them in the moment. But I don't even want to push that, you know, like, and if it doesn't make sense to whomever you show it to, then that's fine too. But my point is like, trust if it doesn't ring true to you, trust that. Yeah. And, you know, if 80% rings true to you, take the 80%, leave the 10 that doesn't, or the 20 that doesn't. But I want to, just because somebody has psychic medium in their name does not mean that everything that comes out of their mouth is from the word of God. Okay. We are human and we are just mouthpieces and we do the best that we can. The ethical ones do the best that we can to be clear voices for spirit. Now, I've given a lot of grace up to this point that there are people out there that maybe they're not so well developed. They have the best intention. They don't really understand what they're doing. There's also some shady ass motherfuckers out there.
Oh, damn. Shots fired. There are. Really quick, and then we'll move on to this. I always like to say, rule of thumb, 80% accurate from the spirit world, right? 10% for my human and 10% for the information that can't be verified right now. Right? So that's 100%. But 10% is my human. Humans make mistakes, motherfucker. Now, these people that are intentionally hurting people, why do they do it, Dana?
Money. Ego. But a lot of it is money. So let's talk about this because there are some people that they'll do a mediumship reading. I'm going to do, if you guys aren't watching us on YouTube, I'm doing quotation marks. I'm going to do a mediumship reading for you. I've got your uncle here. He unalived himself. He is stuck. But for the low price of $500, I am going to cross him over for you and whatever. It's an upsell. So let me just put this caution out there, guys. You should only need one mediumship reading every once. If you want to go back for another mediumship reading in another 6 months, another year, whatever, that's fine. But you should not need or require anything. The purpose of mediumship is to prove continuation of life, is to bring connection. It is not, our job is not to unstuck anybody. It is not to cross anybody. It is not to do any wooey magic. It is to just simply prove connection. Yes.
Makes me want to do like an infomercial. Do you want a low quality, top cost reading? Then Chris goes for you. Spirit butter. We'll unstick your relatives.
But how many times do we hear about this? And
Once alive?
easily, if not more. And I wouldn't be making a podcast about it if it wasn't a bigger problem. I swear, and people are vulnerable. What wouldn't you do to help your loved one that was in pain, hurting, like you miss them, like, oh my God, this person can help them. Okay, I'll pay you this money. The question that I always want to give people is, what has this person given you up to this point where they tell you that they're stuck, that's evidential, that you know without a shadow of a doubt that they have your loved one with you? Because here's the thing that Matt and I will do. 99% of the time, we haven't even asked you for any information, like who the connection is or anything like that. Most of the time, when Matt and I will do a reading, it's completely spirit-led. So you're going to step into our space and we're going to be like, I feel like I have a man here, XYZ, and give you all of those facts. If we've been in a session with you and you're like, there was really somebody I was really hoping to connect with, we're going to ask you for a relationship, and a relationship only. We're not going to ask for a name. We're not going to ask for anything else. We're just going to ask for a relationship. So that's how we bring forward evidence. And then from there, we're going to prove that we have who we have. And sometimes it's not a game of telephone. Sometimes we just can't pull them forward, and that's fine.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that we're horrible mediums. It just means that we just can't connect. And that's cool, because tension creates an ability to connect. And it could be a number of factors. It could be that we're burnt out. We're running on fumes. Your 7th reading today. It could be the fact that I just found out that at work so-and-so happened and I have anxiety. It could be that I am overworking myself. It could be a number of factors.
It could be
does
that the
not
spirit
mean
world,
that I'm not
it
good.
could just mean that it's just not the right time for the loved one to come through. It could mean that I'm not the right medium for you. There could be the spirit, but we honor the spirit world, and it's not a game of telephone, and I never guarantee connection. The point, I mean, if I'm flailing on everything else, I'm giving your money back, or I'm going to rebook or whatever. The point is, these people that are like, I have your loved one here, they're stuck, How much evidence did you give them prior to the reading? Did you give them a name? Did you give them a relationship? Were they able to Google the person and then look up the obituary and then feed you back information about this loved one? Or were they just like, oh, yes, oh, man, I'm having a hard time connecting with him. They must be stuck. Those are the things that are happening. And then all of a sudden these people get scared.
Yeah.
No, people. No.
So I know a lot of mediums listen to this. Okay. I want every medium to consider this. This is just it's something to consider. Okay. Can you right now say that when your client leaves your care that they're not scared? Right? So like it's really funny is when we leave a client, we disconnect, right? And we go about our merry way and they don't exist anymore. I want you, all the mediums out there, to sit with yourself for 30 minutes and reflect on your reading, being like, what do you think this person's thinking about right now? And then later that night, I want you to think again. What do you think that person's thinking about? Do you think they're raving about my reading? Or do you think they're sitting on the information that I gave you and scared? If you can't answer 100% yes, it's a yes or a no. It's not like it's a yes or a no. You got work to do. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. That's an awesome, honest place to be. And if you're being honest with yourself, what can you do better next time? Mm-hmm. What can you empower yourself, or what do you need to learn to go and better yourself to be the medium that you deserve to be, and not the medium that you are right now? Because you deserve to be the best medium that you can be. You deserve to heal as many people as you possibly can in a small amount of time, because we don't have much time on this earth. We don't. It's very limited. But our goal is to empower the people leaving our care to feel fantastic. The point of mediumship is to prove the continuation of life after death, but also to take the weight of worry off their shoulders to know that their loved one's okay. Because love makes you do the wacky. Love will make you do things that you never thought you'd do. right?
Yeah.
100%. And when you fall in love, those of you who fall in love, you did some really weird stuff, right? That you don't normally do. So imagine going home after a medium has told you your loved one's stuck. I've had clients tell me that they would unalive themselves to cross over to help unstick their loved one. That is powerful words. But we don't think about that because we're like, $1 bill for me, $2 bill for me. I'm so powerful. I'm so magical. No one's better than I am. But really, your client is going to self-harm themselves to go help their loved one. And I know what people are like, that's really drastic. No, because it's said to me. It's not that drastic that somebody said it to me because you didn't know how to filter the evidence as designed.
It's
right?
not dramatic because it has been said to you and it's been said to me multiple times that we saved people's lives by giving them validation that their loved ones were okay because they had been told by somebody else that they weren't. It's happened multiple times. So it's not an exaggeration. We have an obligation, if you are going to do this work on a professional level, if you're going to go out and do it free, if you're not going to, like, if you're developing, put developing medium on there so people know that, like, take what you say with a grain of salt. But if you're going to put yourself out there as some sort of authority on it, you have got to be leaving people in a better way than you got them every single time. And if you're not, you need to go back, reevaluate, and stop. And the reason that I say, sorry, I'm soapboxing a little bit, but I get really, really passionate. Go. The reason that I say that I'm constantly a developing medium is because of what you said a second ago, Matt, about sitting back with your reading after the reading is over. What could I have done better here? And sitting with evaluation of like, did I do everything I could for this client? Is there something I could have done better? Is there something I need to work on in my development to go deeper, to sit with this better? Do I need to do more research on this grief topic? Do I need to get better resources on this or that? Because it is very important that we continue to develop and grow in our mediumship and in our offerings as professionals to service our clients and to service these people. They are in a very delicate space and in a very vulnerable.
I love that. I love it. But you know what's really funny, Dana, about that whole thing is like your passion and you like self-reflecting on your readings. Do you know what that tells me? You care. You care about the quality of your work. You care about the person that's sitting in front of you. You're holding space for their loss. And I think that's another thing that other mediums need to realize, that just like you, the person on the other side lived, breathed, died, had blood flow, had loss, had grief, had a job, had kids, had hemorrhoids, like you name it. They experienced a full lifetime of experiences. And so in our development circle, we talk a lot about not honing in on the death. And I think a lot of unethical or underdeveloped mediums or developing mediums always harness on that 5 fucking seconds of their life. It just makes me so mad because like what happened to the other, and we'll use my age, I'm 38. Whatever happened to the other 37 years of their life? Right? And it's a celebration. Mediumship is a celebration of the human spirit. It's a celebration of an entire lifetime of joy and happiness and pain and pleasure and ecstasy and all those great descriptive words to just deliver to the person that's across from you, to celebrate their life, to celebrate every moment of their life. So I always encourage mediums, if you're developing, I want you to encourage to develop on their personality, develop on the memories, develop on the names, develop on the facts, because when you can give those evidence to the person that you're reading for, it is unquestionable of what you're doing. The death does not matter as much as we think it is. I throw that shit out. I'm like, I don't need to know how you died. It doesn't matter. Who are you? Who are you? I want to celebrate you as a person, as an individual, as a spirit. Who were you? Mm-hmm. And what mark did you leave on this world? Because a person that's sitting across from me wants to know that you're here. And when you do that, it's fire. Mm-hmm. Because you deepen your evidence. You let go of expectation. You let go of the limiting beliefs that we have, and you literally blend deeper with the spirit world. You blend on such a level. Ooh, and spirit's here because I'm getting the same feeling. You blend with spirit on such an epic, beautiful level. That's what the spirit world wants us to do. They want us to celebrate how amazing the spirit world is and what the spirit world can be. Because when we limit it with beliefs and religion and things that are created by man, right? And I'm going to say it's created by man because really I think, and I'm sharing my beliefs. I'm on my soapbox. I never really get to share my beliefs very much. I believe that spirit communication with man is real, but man's interpretation of the information from the spirit world created other things. And it limited our beliefs because then it became, I know more than you know. Mm-hmm. Rather than the celebration of the human soul. There are 7 billion people on this earth. How is it that only 1 billion of them are correct? Mm-hmm. What happened to the other 6 billion? Right? But if we celebrate what we feel is God through the humanity and through the human soul, and we just embrace each other and celebrate each other for regardless of belief, what's possible? What's possible? World peace.
Peace, everybody. No, but you just said in such a beautiful way, the purpose of mediumship is to take the power of death away. We know that in the end, human death is surrounding the death of our meat suit. We kind of joke around about this being our meat suit. It's our car. And what do you do when a car breaks down? You throw out the car and you don't care about it anymore, but you keep going because you keep going and you move on. And as mediums, it is our job to prove survival of the spirit, or survival that we continue on, that our loved ones are around even after the car breaks down, that the meat suit is no longer around, that they're always around you. And that is the beautiful job that we have. And when it gets bastardized and when it gets all of these other things put upon it, it breaks my heart, because what we do is so simple and beautiful and pure
and sacred. Imagine walking into a sacred land.
Whoa, it's Tony Stockwell here?
Surrender.
Sir, I would have dressed better, Mr. Stockwell.
His voice melts me. Dina, you brought up some interesting points. So I think we've kind of said our piece around ethical mediumship, right? But let's go into what mediums can do to improve their abilities, to improve or have self-awareness. Filtering your words. Filter your shit. Okay? The reader does not need to say everything that comes to their mind, right? And granted, yes, we want to be in a passive state, right? And our active mind needs to shut off. But there's some things that can be edited out because it is not necessary. So I'm going to tell a story. Okay, this happened on a live. I'm not going to talk about in detail about the reading, but I'm going to talk about the cause of death. Okay, so I had a young male coming to me, X, Y, and Z. He was showing me, and then he showed me that his head was not attached to his body. Okay, I do not want to scar the person sitting across from me again. I do not want to re-traumatize the person that's sitting across from me. But I can say it in a way that's going to get my point across without traumatizing the person. So I would say words like this. Would you understand why I'm seeing an issue with the head and the neck? I am also seeing a lot of graphic things, but I want to talk about the head and the neck. Nowhere did I say, the head's off the body and the blood's pumping out and it's all over the ground and it's detached by a string. Some people do that. And it's literally like trauma. You're re-traumatizing the person this is their loved one, motherfucker. I'm sorry, but that's our loved one. Yo, really? It's like you're playing Call of Duty of mediumship. There's no reason to re-traumatize somebody. And I think what we do is also has some sensitivity to it, right? You become sensitized to the spirit world. You should have some awareness around empathy for others. And so when you say it and you deliver it in a very gentle way, that's going to ease it in to be like, yep, that's Bobby. His name really isn't Bobby, but I'm using Bobby as a spiritual protection program. But there's ways to say things. There's also ways to deliver evidence and messages, right? Speaking of messages, I think you gave me the best advice one time that it's just like messages don't always have to happen. They don't. Sometimes the loved one just showing up is the message, right? Especially if it's a traumatic death. Sit on that for a second. You don't need to be like, well, he loves you. He knows he loves you. That's your relative. Right? Them just showing up and being like, hey, I might have unalived myself. I'm still here. I'm still okay. Because and speaking from somebody that's had a loved one unalive themselves, that's all I wanted to know. I didn't want to know that he was sorry. I didn't want to know that he was apologetic. I didn't want to know that he was tortured. I wanted to know he was okay, because my main concern in my relative's death was that he was stuck in that house. Right? And the only reason why I understand that is from what I see on TV. Right? Oh, they're stuck. They're trapped. No, they're not. No, they're not. Are you picking that up psychically? Right? Are you reading the energy of the area psychically and you're delivering it and you're misinterpreting the evidence because you're not actually talking to the spirit, but you're picking up things psychically from the location that is indicating that that trauma is still in the area but not the spirit, right? Are we having discernment and questioning our own evidence as it's rolling through? So the filter needs to be just more than our words. It needs to be us learning how to decipher what's psychic and what's medium.
And then there's fear, right? There's fear all mixed up in that. But I'm always big on telling people, once words are out of our mouth, we can't take them back. So if it makes, we obviously want to be in flow, and this is something we work on with development. And if you see it, say it. But we have to be aware that our words have extreme power. And once they leave our mouth, we can't take them back. So when we are dealing with sensitive things, so just using your example, I have seen readers that will sit and harp on something like a death scene like that for 5 minutes. And there's no need to do that. In simply saying, you'd understand a neck and a head, and they say, yes, done. We've established, we know who it is. We don't need to talk about it anymore. We don't need to go, well, because he's showing me this and he's showing me that. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
No.
The death is very, very, we've validated through evidence. We know who he is. We can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So there's, and spirit honors that, Spirit honors that, but we do not need to sit and harp on that for 5 minutes.
But why do they do that? Because it's sexy. It's awesome. You're powerful. You're a god. No, you're not. You're human. And fear sells.
Yep.
And so when we're going through all that stuff, there's really no need. The case has been solved with this. This was an accident in my reading. It was an accident. The kid was like, I'm an accident. But that was the message of the whole thing. I know how I affected you guys. I know how my passing affected the entire family. And I want you to know that I was aware. That's what he wanted me to say to the client. Nowhere did I have to go a 20-minute conversation around his passing. But he made me feel like there was a lot of situations in the family that I need to address. But it was the message, and then it folded the way it needed to unfold. Yeah. I did not harbor on one moment for 40 minutes.
Well, and in regards to message, I am real anal about messages. Because
Oh my God.
when messages come through,
I love this.
I
Keep
know.
going.
I can't stand in inauthentic message. Don't
Yeah.
tell somebody that they love you if they didn't say. If Spirit doesn't say it, don't you dare put a word in Spirit's mouth that they did not say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think an underdeveloped medium will put words in Spirit's mouth to like make the sitter feel better, or
Yeah.
to because they're not getting anything else. Like they say they're sorry. No, if Spirit didn't say they're sorry, I'm not going to say they're sorry. Even if they should be saying they're sorry, I am not going to say sorry unless they say they're sorry. I might say like, I'm sorry that happened to you. He's not saying he's sorry, but I'm sorry that this happened to you. I will never, ever, ever say something that Spirit does not say. And there are a lot of readers that do that, and you can feel it. You can feel when there is that inauthentic bullshit message that comes through, and you're just like, oh, that feels so like, that doesn't feel real. And you can feel it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, and I'm to all you developing mediums listening to this right now, your sitter knows that. They know that if you're coming through, and even if you've delivered a fire reading up to that point, and it's evidence, and you've just said something that is inauthentic to what they would have said in life, you have invalidated your reading by giving a crap message.
And that's why I'm saying tap into the personality. Because if you tap into the personality, my grandma would never say I love you. Mm-hmm. She would never say I love you. If you came through and you had my grandma, I'm not saying this is actually true, not my grandma that you know, but my other grandma. If you would have said, hey, she's here, I would have been like, okay, cool. That's my grandma. She would never say I love you to me. And if you said, as a reader, your grandma says I love you, I'd be like, your grandma, you're full of shit. Because my grandma would probably said, I still fucking hate you. Mm-hmm. I would have been like, yeah, that's my grandma.
You got it. That's her.
Right.
Don't
exactly.
push her. Don't push. There, I see so many inauthentic messages get pushed through, and it and you can just and maybe it's because I'm a medium, but I can sniff that shit out like from a mile away, and it drives me crazy.
There's a good trick though. There's a good trick, and I don't say trick, I mean like skill. Is that explain what you're feeling around it. Like sometimes I'm like, hey, they're not saying this, but I'm feeling this. But I want to highlight that they are not saying this. So if you were like, let's say I pushed I popped all four of your tires, right? And we're going, hey, I just want to let you know, I feel some sort of uncomfortability around this. They're not apologizing, but I feel like I need to talk about your four tires. Do you understand this? Nowhere did I say, Betsy says she's sorry, but you shouldn't have slept with their boyfriend, right? Like, but that's what misinterpreting evidence is. I'm only explaining my experience. I'm not explaining what they're saying to you. When they say they're sorry to me, it's not like I'm sorry. It's a feeling, and I've got to talk about my experience around that feeling in the best possible way. And I think I've said this in another podcast, but I'm not sure. But I always like to call Spirit like Spirit Incorporated, where I'm like ground floor, like I'm like filing cabinet ground floor. That I'm going to have a yearly review or a year-end review when I go to the other side, and I always hold myself accountable, and we have to hold ourselves accountable, but also each other. Of being, if I was to sit in front of every single spirit and get a review, would I pass the grade? Would Spirit be like, yep, you said everything I needed to say. You said it in the way that I meant it. You didn't add on to anything. Beautiful job. Great job. You're promoted. That's how I hold myself accountable. Because there's no way, because you can literally get lost of being in a story time. And that's when you go into evidence and you just go a 20-minute conversation around one piece of evidence. Like, you think we're having a girls' day? No. No. You just got nails. That was it. Yeah. But That's part of our review. So if you treat it in some sort of professional way where even at your job, you're getting a review, right? You're getting critiqued and you're getting feedback and you're getting criticism. If you can't pass that as well from the spirit side, you got work to do. Work. Okay. So I want to tell a quick story, Dana, and then we can move on, of discernment. And like, what doesn't resonate for you and leaving it aside is I went to a roadside psychic. So I want you to picture it. 2011, a young maiden girl. No, I ended up going to a roadside psychic because I didn't know any better. This is before my development, before I had a realization that I was a medium. It was like 10 years, 11 years ago. No, longer than that. I don't know. Time is a construct. But I walked in and the lady was saying that tarot cards were mediumship. And she was giving me a reading, and then she was like, your wife is jealous of you. And I don't know if you've met me. It's raining men. All right. But like the things that she was saying, and I just literally let everything go. Like once she said something that just really was like way off, it literally took her integrity completely down. So just know the moral of this story is your integrity is all you have as a medium. It is all you got, nothing else. The minute in one reading can ruin an entire career. I just want to say that. And if you don't believe me, there's some famous mediums that have ended their careers by one bad reading. One. Thousands of readings and one took them down. Sit on that for a second. So always being honest, having integrity in your work, admitting when you're wrong, wanting to grow is the best thing you can do for your mediumship. It is the best thing that is how you become a good medium. Holding yourself accountable because your integrity is all you got.
It's all you got. And listen, throwing it out when it doesn't make sense, empowering yourself. One other thing that I want to leave with is vet your readers. You know, if you seek out mediumship and you want mediumship, vet your readers. This isn't, mediumship can be a very healing thing, but it is not a replacement for grief. It is not a replacement for therapy. It is not something that you should go get like a ton of mediumship readings, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Get a mediumship reading because you've vetted your reader, you've seeked them out, you found the right one. You should only need one. And then maybe 6 months, a year down the line, get another one. But don't keep going. Don't keep going.
You just unlocked something. Psychic addiction.
Because it is an addiction. It is an addiction. But, you know, be very careful of that. Be aware of that. Use your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, walk away. I want to empower each one of you. If you are in the middle of a reading, you're 5-10 minutes into a reading, and the reader says your wife's cheating on you and you're 100% into dudes, walk away and say, I would like my money back right now.
I didn't do that. She got my $30.
But I'm big on advocate for yourself within the space of the reading. I just don't think you're the reader for me. Nothing against you. I don't think you're the reader for me. I'd like my money back. And talk to your reader prior to what's your refund policy, what's going on. But I'm real big on don't wait until you've eaten your full meal before you tell your waiter that you didn't like your meal.
If you're licking your fingers at the end of this being like, I didn't like it, I'm going to be like, keeping your money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but advocating for yourself within the space of the reading, and an ethical reader is going to be like, okay. And an ethical reader, a good reader is going to probably be feeling that way before you felt it. And we're probably going to call it before you do. So, but always advocate for yourself within the space of a reading. If you're 5-10 minutes or you're just not feeling the jive, I would rather have my clients say, I'm not feeling this, can I get a refund? Than you go through the whole thing and then you're just carrying that with you forever and you have this regret because you spent X amount of dollars and, you know. Because we're not cheap. I mean, I know I'm not cheap. I know you're not cheap. I know that, a lot of good readers out there aren't. There's a lot of bad readers that aren't cheap. So,
Yeah. And take your time. Take your time. It is not a rush. But let's quickly touch base on psychic addiction. If we are not baseball cards, it is not a Pokemon. You don't need to collect us all. Gotta catch them all? Nope. Take time before a reading, because that can also affect your next reading and your next reading and your next reading and your next reading, and you're chasing the dragon because you're trying to get some information and you're trying to do this. You should have I put on my website, you need 6 months between a reading. If you've just had a reading with Dana Willey last week and you're coming to me for another reading, I'm going to be like, you need to seek therapy. You don't need me. You need a therapist, because there's something obviously wrong, because you get a rush from a mediumship reading. And that is the same rush that gamblers get. It's the same rush that alcoholics get. You're trying to escape. Stop. No. You need professional help. And that's not something that I'm registered as a psychic medium to provide. I can't provide that for you. But if there's something like grief counseling, right? That's the first thing I'm going to recommend you. You need to go to some grief counseling. Is there something like a therapist that you can contact? Is this something that you could do? Because I will stop a reading if I found out that you just got a reading. I'll be like, sorry, nope. Because we feel it too. We 100% feel it. If I'm getting drips and drabs and I'm not building the power, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, well, Dana said it last week, I'm literally going to be like, okay. So are you paying me for my time? Or are you paying me for a message? Like, what are you paying me for? Because I'm here to help you. I'm not here to be number 468 right next to Dana Willey, right? And that's a baseball card number. I don't know. But take some time to care for yourself between readings and live a little. Live a little. Have some space. Go explore life. We're here in our school to learn some lessons.
Yeah.
So please do that. I don't know. Dana, do you want to add anything to that? Because
No,
I just feel like I just tangented.
No, I think it's a legit thing. And I think people, we talked a little bit about it in our grounded episode, but we spiritually bypass and we try to like go, if I go to this psychic, no, you actually have to heal. We have to heal our humans. So therapy, if whatever you're trying to scratch the itch by going to another medium, you need to like reevaluate. What do you actually need to be healing? There is a place, and I do think that mediumship can be a very healing and very amazing thing. But too much of anything is not a good thing. No.
In moderation. I always want to be like, mediumship is good in moderation.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope we gave you guys something to consider today. And just, more than anything, I hope that you take care of yourselves. I hope that you advocate for yourselves.
Yes.
I hope that we've given you some tools to empower yourselves in situations where you're like, this just doesn't feel right. The biggest things to leave with is vet your readers, vet who you let read for you. I got to tell you, I'm a picky bitch on who I let read for me.
Oh, yeah.
So don't believe everything you're told. That goes for like me and Matt. Like if there's something we tell you that doesn't resonate, throw it out. You should always empower yourself to trust your own intuition, trust what feels right to you. And just know that your loved ones are okay. Know that they aren't stuck. Know that they're not trapped. Know that they're not suffering. Know that whatever held them back here on the human planet of Earth is no longer holding them back in the spirit world.
They good. Well, with that being said, Dana, I love spicy Dana. I just want to say that. The passionate Dana, I love that part of you. Because we don't really get to see that a lot.
No,
so thank you.
She gets unleashed sometimes.
Thank you. Get back in the cage, girl. Well, with that being said, we love you all. You're in our hearts. And Dana.
Live your best life.
Clean up on aisle 4. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. You are the light of 1,000 suns.